Previously on the Skip and Josh Sports Show.
All these people bringing animals into the arenas, and first of all, why would you do that?
Well, did you read the whole story?
How did you get in?
The guy brought it from Nashville.
He brought it from Nashville, and
it's unclear how he traveled, hopefully by car, but and then he smuggled the fish in, like he put it in his pants. It's almost too ridiculous to be true. And his defense, I'm just a stupid redneck.
That's not a bad defense, actually.
It's perfect.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is on now.
Skippy.
Hey.
How are you?
Great.
So we need to remind the listeners that I'm in Toronto and you're in Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
There's some listeners. We have some new listeners that didn't hear our first show where we went over how we live in different cities. So we're not in the same room and we can't see each other when we record these shows, which adds some complexity to the whole situation.
Right. When we were together in the same room for like a couple of episodes, they're so much easier to do.
They're easier, but they're different. You know, I felt like we were in a rush or something because I don't know.
Yeah,
it went quicker. Like we talked less.
Right.
I don't know if that even makes any sense.
Right. Well, whatever.
But anyhow, so we're in different cities, and another little just recap for any new listeners out there. We're of course both fans of all the Montreal sports teams, but because I live in Toronto, I get more news and information on the Toronto sports teams. So I try to bring the Toronto angle to things, and you bring the Montreal angle to things.
Right. Exactly.
So having said that, we got quite a few things to talk about this week.
It's been a while since we recorded because I was away in Chicago.
How was your trip, by the way?
Well, Chicago's so beautiful. It's just ridiculous. I've been to Chicago so many times, it's like I lost track. But it's so beautiful in the summer, and the weather was perfect. I mean, my hotel was fantastic. And
you stayed at the Drake.
I stayed at the Drake.
I don't even like Drake.
You don't like the Drake?
I hate the Drake.
I love the Drake.
How could you not like the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
Who's the Drake?
The Drake is good.
If I tell you like crazy stuff, like there was 85 people from my company that were at this trip.
Okay.
So we were spread out among 5 hotels, and I don't think the Drake is like the first choice because it's really expensive, but it's so fantastic. It's from another era. You know, honestly, that hotel is like, it was built in 1920, and, you know, it's like one of these famous Chicago landmarks, you know, from the 40s and 50s, and I read up all about it. There's actually a restaurant in the basement level that's closed now that they're going to figure out what they're going to do with it, that has a famous wooden bar, like the actual bar is made out of wood, and so you can see Marilyn Monroe and Joe DiMaggio carved their initials in there in the 1950s when they got married.
I remember when I was in Chicago, I saw that huge Marilyn Monroe statue. It's like massive.
It's gone. They changed it now. There's another statue there, a different one now.
Oh.
There's Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, I don't normally talk much about basketball, at least the NBA.
Right.
Because I'm not that big an NBA fan. But now that we're in the finals, and of
Right.
course with the opportunity, with the chance of the season ending yesterday, of course I watched the game. Now, I only turned on the game in the third quarter, but I turned on the game at the most important time because right when I turned it on, Draymond Green got a technical foul.
Oh, boy.
And I know there's a lot of stuff that happened before this that you probably want to talk about, but I want
Sure.
to talk about this technical foul.
Well, I mean, look, if you go on Twitter last night, all you read is about how the refereeing last night was an embarrassment to the NBA. And it's hard not to agree with that.
Well, first of all, there were 7 technical fouls in the game, which to me sounds ridiculous. I don't know. That sounds like a lot of technical fouls for one game. I don't think I've ever heard of that many in one game.
It is, but I mean, it's heated now, and the teams don't like each other, right? And you've got one guy on one side, Green, who's an incredible instigator and agitator, and you know, it's like things bubbled over, and I think it's going to get worse in the next game, to be honest.
Well, so Draymond Green gets this technical foul, and all I hear is,
did he?
Well,
yeah.
well, all I hear is as soon as I turn it on is it's his second technical of the game, and he's out of the game, and
Right.
So everyone's freaking out. I think it was. Is it Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson that do the games?
Yes, it is.
So they're actually quite good, I have to say.
They're fantastic.
because
I don't
they-
care for Mark Jackson, but he's good, and Van Gundy is amazing.
Well, what I like about them is, they'll throw the NBA under the bus, even though they work
Exactly.
even though they work for ESPN and ABC and their partners. They'll
Yeah.
throw the NBA under the bus if they think they've made a mistake. And they both thought that they made a mistake that, first of all, that shouldn't have been a technical foul, number one. And number two, the fact that it was the second of the game. And then all of a sudden, they go over to the scores table and they say, no. The first one that we called in the first half wasn't against Green. It was against Steve Kerr. Except that if you look at the score sheet that was handed out at the end of the first half, apparently it says on there, technical foul, Golden State Warriors, Draymond Green. So from the time that they called the second one to the time that they walked over to the scores table, somehow it changed, which doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, Van Gundy's theory is that, like, basically they realized that the second foul shouldn't have been a technical, and it wasn't going to be fair to kick Green out. So it's like they made up, like, oh yeah, the first one wasn't on him, and he said it. They just should have said, sorry, that's not a technical. We reviewed it, we talked it over, and it's not a technical. And they could have just left it at that. So there was a little bit of sleuthing, super sleuthing going on by Doris Burke, who also does a great job on the broadcast on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And she went over and talked to the official scorers at the table and said, what's going on? They said, well, when we got it, we thought we scored it as it was the first foul was on Green. And only after the fact did they come over now, like right when all this happened, saying, oh yeah, it was on Kerr. So, it's a mystery and whatever, but it is what it is.
Anyhow, so that was like an important part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I watched the rest of the game, and well, you know what happened. I was actually hoping that that Golden State would win, and not because I'm a Golden State fan, and not because I don't like Cleveland or because I don't like LeBron, but I wanted the series to be over. But more importantly, I wanted to see for the first time ever a team sweep through the entire playoffs.
Me
It's
too.
never happened.
Me too. I would have been amazing to see.
It would have been amazing to see, and I don't think it's ever going to happen.
No.
And so I'm a little disappointed that it didn't happen now.
Well, we texted yesterday, like, what time do you want to record? So, should we record on Friday? Should we record on Saturday? And then you said, well, let's record on Saturday morning because, the basketball will be over.
Right, exactly. So we could put a bow on the season, but now we can't.
No, now we got to wait for the final. And not only that, we have to wait for next game. So it's like they're not playing till Monday. And, look, it's 3-1, and you think that Golden State is in the driver's seat, which obviously they are, but this series could easily be 2-2. Cleveland gave away Game 3 in the Cleveland basically just forgot how to play basketball for a minute and a half at the end of Game 3, and that's the difference in the series right now.
And that's the worst time to forget how to play. A minute and a half left in the game.
Right. They gave it to them. And then, look, do I think Cleveland can come out and do what they did last night? No, what did they hit? Like 25 3-pointers? I think there were, I don't have the stats in front of me, but at one point it was like, they were like 22 of 42 from 3, that's ridiculous. Like, there's no way they could replicate that again. Like, it just doesn't happen,
Unfortunately now it's not over, and like you said, we have to wait for another game.
It's not over, but, home court is huge, right? So if you work on the premise as, like, the series isn't over till someone loses on home court, well, Cleveland did lose on their home court, and now it's going back to Golden State. But there's a psychological factor, They blew a 3-1 lead last year, and now it's 3-1, and I don't know, in their locker room, are the Warriors looking at each other like, oh, here we go again, type of thing? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Although it happened differently because now they'd have to win
Of
four
course.
straight. Last year they didn't have to win 4 straight.
Yeah. No, of course. And
and
they'll have to win 2. They would have to win 2 in Golden State, which I think was more or less impossible. But
now, what surprises me is you would think that after last year, Draymond Green would have learned his lesson, but apparently he hasn't because he doesn't care.
You like the old saying, you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Like, he is what he is. That's just Draymond Green. He's not going to change, right?
He almost got tossed, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets tossed next game, and then you have a repeat of what happened last year.
It's so true.
And
He's
so
such
you're
a
right.
hothead.
So
It's
Cleveland could
ridiculous.
come back and win the series.
And the other guy on Golden State who's also agitating stuff is Zaza Pachulia.
Oh, did he punch somebody in the nuts?
He punched Shumpert in the nuts. It was awesome.
Or at least he tried to, but I think he missed.
He kind of tried to. I don't know if he missed or he hit him. But I mean, look, Pachulia's playing great for them. Don't get me wrong. He brings this physicality and he brings an edge to the game, like when Green's not in. But I mean, he's dirty, you know?
Okay. So a couple other things sort of about the game last night, but not exactly.
Sure. Yeah.
So I watch on ABC.
Yeah. Well, that's the only way to watch now.
Well, no, you can watch on TSN or Sportsnet,
Oh, okay. Okay.
which, by the way, leads to what bugs me, but that's for later. So I watch on ABC, and the commercials are great. I just have to say that I rarely watch American channels, and the commercials are so much better. Even like the regular commercials for like Old Navy or something stupid like that. They're just so much better commercials than what we get in Canada.
Well, it's just the way it is, right?
And so
Why?
one
What
of
commercial did you like last night?
well, that's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a commercial. It was more of a promo during the game. They were previewing the next 30 for 30 that's coming out, and I think you know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's the Lakers Celtics, right?
So yes, so apparently it's going to be on, I think, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Thursday of this week on ESPN, which of course we don't get here in Canada.
No, but we'll get that 30 for 30 on TSN.
Well, I'm going to do
Eventually,
I'm
I
going
mean.
to do a public service for you and all our listeners right now.
It's just a public service announcement.
Because I did some research.
Mhm.
I wanted to know when we would get to see it in Canada. So you're going to have two opportunities. On Saturday, not today, but a week from today, on ABC, you can watch the Celtics Lakers. And by the way, it's a two-parter, and each part's 2 hours.
Oh my God.
You can watch the 4 full hours on Saturday, starting at 3 o'clock on ABC.
Okay.
And if you don't miss it, if you miss it on ABC on Saturday,
4 hours.
Yes.
Are they crazy?
well, I'm sure there's commercials in there too.
Yeah, but still.
So recorded and fast forward through the commercials. And then if you miss that, then on Monday, June 19th and Tuesday, June 20th at 7 p.m. both nights, it'll be available on TSN 2.
Well, because TSN now in the summer, they have nothing to show.
Well, they have stuff to show, but apparently...
Are you excited for this 30 for 30? I mean, there's been so much. You know how many Bird Magic... There's already been a Bird Magic 30 for 30. I mean, like...
I am excited for it. I didn't see the Bird Magic 30 for 30.
Well, I don't know if it's a 30 for 30 or it's an NBA production, but I mean, I've seen like several like documentaries on Bird versus Magic.
Well, you could have created this documentary. You know everything because you were a big fan.
I guess. Of course I was, but it'll be great. I'm going to watch it, but doesn't mean like it's like a story that everybody's heard, you know?
Well, anyway, everyone's heard it, but still the reason I'm excited for it because I'm a big fan of 30 for 30 in general. In fact, the last one I saw, which was about a month ago, was called One and Not Done. It was about John Calipari.
Yeah.
And whether
He's defending the new system of one and dones.
Well, he wasn't really defending or not defending. Whether you like him or hate him, it was just an interesting documentary. It wasn't just about one and done. It was about, how he started in basketball and it goes back to when he was, a teenager.
Sure.
Anyways, it was well done. So the 30 for 30s,
they're great.
Depending on who, directs them, produces them,
Yeah.
they're usually well done. So I'm looking forward to the Celtics Lakers one. That's all.
Awesome. What was the other observation you had? You said
Oh no, well the other observation was the
30 for 30.
was the commercials and also just that Van Gundy and Jackson. I think they do a good job on the broadcast.
Yeah, Van Gundy's great. Honestly, he's very outspoken, and I like how he speaks his mind. And like you said, he's not afraid to say, "Well, they got that wrong, and this is not right, and it shouldn't be this way." And
yeah,
like he's not afraid to speak his mind. And Mark Jackson, I find he's okay, but it is a weird situation with him and the Warriors because he was the coach of the Warriors,
of course.
And basically after they fired him, they became really good. So I don't know, but it doesn't come out very much, but I wonder, how he's feeling about that. So, I mean, I love Steve Kerr. I saw they showed his pregame speech before the beginning of the game. I mean, obviously, like, you didn't know how the game 4 was going to go, right?
No, I mean,
are Cleveland just going to give up because they're down 3-0? Are Golden State motivated because they're up 3-0? So that was, and you found out right away after the first 2 minutes that Cleveland was fired up because they came out like on fire, And I felt like throughout the whole game that Golden State could have come back. Like, honestly, I was waiting for the 10-0 run.
Of course.
I was waiting for like the 10-0 run that was going to bring Golden State back into the game, but it never came. They kept it to like within 15, 12, 13, and then I was waiting for the run that was going to like make the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter interesting, but Cleveland just kept hitting shots, right? So Golden State could never make their move.
Yeah, I think they had this sort of 20-point lead.
Yeah.
All the way from the second quarter of the game.
Yeah, and Golden State would will it away, and then Cleveland would sort of bring it back up, and and then at the end it's too late. So I'm looking forward to Monday for the next game. So it should be great. I mean, the playoffs in the NBA have not been great. I mean, there haven't been many great series, and I think the NBA was really hoping that this would showcase these two great teams. So it was going to be the showcase of the whole season. But I guess the league's happy that it's going not a sweep, and also I'm sure ABC is happy, right? Because they have more games for them. So
yeah, the longer it goes, the better for them, for sure.
Hi there, Skip and Josh will be right back. To get in touch with them, you can send them an email to skipandjoshshow@gmail.com. You can follow them on Twitter @skipandjosh, and you can visit their website at www.skipandjosh.com. And now, back to the show.
You want to switch gears to the NHL playoffs? How do you like the way the Stanley Cup Finals is going?
Well, for some reason, neither team can win on the road. I don't quite understand it. Pekka Rinne is phenomenal at home and awful on the road, or maybe just.
But what did I tell you? What did I tell you in the playoff preview that we did? He's very inconsistent. That's his nature.
Hold on. Let's backtrack a little bit. Yes, but he's only been bad in Pittsburgh. Like when he played on the road in Chicago, he was good. When he played on the road in St. Louis, he was good.
He's been good throughout this whole playoffs, but the nature of his career is inconsistent. You know how bad he was last season? He was terrible. And then this year he rebounded, but I mean, I'm not a huge fan of his, and they really need him because they don't have any forwards, to be honest. Like Ryan Johansson's missing really affects them. Like they're doing it kind of with mirrors in terms of scoring goals. Their defense obviously is fantastic, but they really need Rinne. Like they don't have much. They really need him to be on his game. Like they can't afford any like softies.
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I still think it's going to go 7 games because the next game's in Nashville, and I expect Nashville to win actually easily because they've won easily both times at home. I expect Pekka Rinne to play great. And I don't know if it's a psychological thing or, the ice in Nashville is different or just having the home crowd behind you. I'm not sure what it is. Or maybe it's the catfish on the ice. But I fully expect Nashville to win Game 6 and then force a Game 7. And I expect Pittsburgh to win in Game 7, which is what I said before the series even started. Now, I didn't think it would go quite like this. I didn't think the games would be as lopsided as they've been. The fact of the matter is the closest game in the series was Game 1 when it was 5-3 Pittsburgh, which one of those goals was an empty net goal, so it was really 1-goal game. The funny part is throughout the playoffs up until the finals started, there were so many 1-goal games in the playoffs, and there were so many overtime games in the playoffs. And
not in the finals.
In the final, now you've got no overtime games, no 1-goal games. Like I said, only one game was really close. So it's a complete role reversal. And the other thing that was happening in the first 3 rounds was road teams were winning games, and now no road team has won any games. It's just an observation. I don't know, I don't have any insight into why.
Normally in the NHL, the home ice advantage is like the least prevalent of the sports. You know what I mean?
You're right.
It's not such a big of a deal, but in this case, it's mental. I don't know what it is.
So anyway, I do expect it to go 7 games. I still expect Pittsburgh to win in 7. But I actually didn't get to see the last game, but I will get. Well,
I mean, I turned it on. It was already 3-0, and then that was it.
Yeah.
I mean, bottom line is, Nashville doesn't have Crosby, Malkin, Kessel, right?
No, they don't have.
There's a lot of firepower. There's a lot of firepower, and it's very hard. It's very hard to shut them down. You know?
Yeah, it's like when the Blackhawks won 3 Stanley Cups, they got a lot
Yeah.
of offense, and when the Kings won 2 Stanley Cups,
course,
they have a lot of
yeah.
offense.
And
That's
right
what
now,
you need.
like Philip Forsberg hasn't been scoring much, so they're relying on Victor Arvidsson and a cast of characters.
Guys who you never heard of before the season started.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to ask you is, so that like they've been trotting out like country music stars to sing the national anthem.
Yes.
So have you heard anything about who's going to sing it on Sunday? I haven't heard. I'm asking.
I haven't heard, but
Right.
I mean, would it not make sense that they're saving the best for last?
Well, wouldn't it be Carrie Underwood if it's the last home game of the season?
That's what I would think. But you see, if they had planned it that way, they were taking a risk, because what if Game 6 never happened?
Yeah, you're right. Or maybe she doesn't want to. I don't know. It's weird.
But has she not
yeah.
done it yet?
I don't think so. They had like a bunch of other country music singers, so
Okay.
no, it hasn't. She hasn't done it yet. No.
Okay, well then it must be her then.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I mean, normally I don't care about the national anthems. I don't even think they should be sung. But
I agree. So is she like the biggest country music star in the States? Is she? I don't know.
but I mean, she's big and she's married to Mike Fisher. So like,
right.
you
But what
figured,
about
like,
who's the other one that does Sunday Night Football? What's her name?
Faith Hill?
Yeah, isn't she a big country music star?
She's big, yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know about country music, so everybody and their uncle are talking about Subban versus Crosby. Do you even want to touch this? Like, I'm so annoyed by it. I didn't know if I wanted to talk about it, but I'm asking you if you had anything to say about it.
Well, I mean, I think it's funny. I don't think Crosby actually said anything about his breath, to be honest with you.
Well, they said he didn't. He came out and said, I never, like, they have the recording, or they have like not a recording, but like people have like gone frame by frame of different things, and they're trying to.
Yeah, so I mean, Subban made it up, which I think is funny. I mean, of all the things you can make up, might as well make that up.
I know, but I've been like a big defense. I was always like on. You know how it is here in Montreal. It's like you're on Team Subban or you're not on Team Subban. Like people here in Montreal, they love him or they hate him. And I always thought the people that hate him were ridiculous, because why hate this guy? He's so fun to watch, talented, outgoing. He's like the new generation. But this Listerine thing really like bothered me.
It bothered you?
I don't care that he came out and said Crosby said I have bad breath, and I don't know why, because I use Listerine. I thought that was funny, just like you. But the next game, he brought in a bag full of Listerine.
I saw
and
that.
It was
I thought that was funny.
Yeah, and he's doing that for the cameras.
Yeah.
So all the people that say Subban's a distraction, Subban's this, Subban's that, they're kind of right, because he's just goofing off. Like it's all a big show. And that kind of rubbed me the wrong way when I saw him bringing in that Listerine.
I don't disagree with you, actually. You're right. He does seem to be a bit of a distraction. And the other thing I've noticed, he brought in the bag and it's all for the cameras. It's all for show. The other thing I noticed is anytime the team wins a game and they're celebrating, he always seems to be right in the middle of the celebration. There's like 20 guys who celebrate, right? But there's some that are right in the center.
Look, he's a very emotional player. Like he's that's the way he is. He's like exuberant. I don't know what the word is. Like he's big. His personality's big. When he celebrates, he's gonna celebrate hard. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I don't mind that. But this Listerine business, And what do you think about Crosby like pounding his head into the ice?
Well, hold on. Can I back up a sec?
Yeah, sure.
Did you see? There was an E60 on PK Subban.
I didn't see it.
Okay, I watched it. And
I saw the quote. He said, why when I score a goal, I like to celebrate.
Right.
I thought there's nothing wrong with that.
No, and the other thing he said on the actual show that wasn't in the preview,
right,
was, look, I'm getting paid $9 million to play hockey. Why shouldn't I be having fun?
Right,
which is true.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But have fun on the ice. Why bring mouthwash into the rink and make sure the cameras could see it?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with hockey.
So
that's just marketing.
So to answer your question about pounding his head on the ice,
yeah,
any other player I think would have gotten a penalty for that. Crosby got away with that one.
Yeah,
and then later, was it the same game, I think, where he threw a water bottle on the ice?
The water bottle thing I think is overblown. Like he came out and he went to the right away. He said I didn't mean to do it. And like Crosby's excuse for the water bottle actually makes sense.
It slipped out of his hand,
and he said it was in his left hand. That's why he didn't like you could even see he's like, of course I didn't throw it. Look, you could see it's in my left hand. I would have thrown it with my right hand if I wanted to throw it. You know.
Listen, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Me too.
because
Me
he's
too. I'll
not a
give him the
goon.
benefit of the
But
doubt.
the point
No.
is, so if any other player had thrown a water ball, or if any other player had pounded someone's head on the ice, they would have gotten the penalty.
Yeah.
Like there's different rules for different players.
But that's
And
the game.
It's like that in every sport.
That's the game,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and do I think Crosby's dirty? No.
No.
But why should Crosby be held to like a different standard than other players in the NHL? I know he's a superstar and he's super talented. Why can't he play with an edge? If there's guys that that thing where he's hitting him in the head, that happens a million times in the playoffs.
Right. The cameras.
Guys
happen
are
to
getting
catch
away
it.
with all kinds of stuff, and just because it's Crosby, he shouldn't be allowed to do it because he's the poster boy of the league. No, he's allowed to play hard. The league has the league has the league has a history of superstars that are dirty. And what's wrong with that? Why can't Crosby play with an edge? He's not allowed.
He's allowed, but then he has to expect to, if he's going to dish it out, he has to expect to take it too.
And I don't think he minds taking it. He's been physically abused in the playoffs.
Okay, then that's fine.
Yeah, but I mean, look, there's one guy in the radio here that I was surprised that came out and said that because Mike Milbury, obviously he doesn't like Subban. That's pretty obvious, and he said on their broadcast, on the NBC broadcast, Subban deserved it, which is kind of a ridiculous statement. Like, I don't think anybody deserves to have their face punched, like into the ice, like regardless of what's happening. But one guy out on here on the radio said an interesting thing, which was like he agreed with Milbury to a certain extent because you don't know what's going on the ice the whole time. And Subban is yapping at Crosby the entire time, right? He is yapping and talking trash at Crosby every time they're on the ice together. So when you play the way Subban does, you need to expect that at some point there's going to be a retaliation. And I think Crosby wouldn't have cared if he got a penalty. Probably expected to get a penalty. It was just a bonus that he didn't. It's not Crosby's fault that he didn't get a penalty. Crosby said enough is enough. Bang, bang, bang. I'm going to smash you, and that's it.
And what was the score in the game at that point?
2-0, I think.
Oh, it was only 2-0 at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, I thought maybe it was the game was already had a hand, and he didn't care so much if he got
and
a
I mean,
penalty.
and Subban is holding Crosby's leg. He's not letting him get up. Like, that's what you don't see, right? So he's kind of punching him in the head to say, hey, get the hell off of me, right? So, I mean, it is overblown, and I didn't want to spend too much time talking about it, but the series is not Crosby versus Subban,
No, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, the series is, Sidney Crosby showed why he's the best player in the league last game. This guy does everything, right? Not only is he the most talented, well, he's he's one of the top offensive players, if not the top. The only offensive player I would say that's better than him in the league maybe is McDavid, maybe. And he's a complete player because he could do everything. You want to go in the corners, you want to go play like a rough style of hockey. That's Crosby. He doesn't care. He'll do everything, right? And is it leading his team by punching the opponent's best player in the head to say, "Hey guys, we're not going to get pushed around"? I think other players on other teams would have been applauded for smashing Subban in the face. They would have said, hey, look, he's being a leader. He's saying we're not going to take this. But because it's Crosby, everyone's like, oh, look what Crosby did.
Well, I'm sure his Crosby's teammates were happy about it. Yeah, that's all that matters. He doesn't have to please anybody else.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, there's a long line of NHL superstars that play with, and I'm going in air quotes, that play with an edge and that play sort of dirty. Gordie Howe, the most famous of all, right? He was one of the dirtiest players of his era, All right, well, I'm looking forward to the next game. The only thing that's bothering me about this series is that we have to wait till Sunday.
Yeah, it's a little annoying.
And then Game 7, and again, till Wednesday.
Yeah. Well,
which
listen,
is...
we can talk about that till the cows come home. My philosophy on it. There should be a game every second night.
Right.
And the NBA is doing the same thing. The NHL is doing the same thing.
The NBA has a history of doing this, right? So when the NBA spreads out the games, it doesn't surprise me. But when the NHL does it, I'm like, why?
Who knows?
They're saying it benefits the Penguins. People are saying it benefits the Penguins because, they're more banged up. I don't know. Are they? hard to say. I mean, I'm sure Nashville is pretty banged up too at this point.
Yeah, in terms
So-
of like health wise, sure, it helps players recover from injury. And
Yeah.
and what who knows? Maybe the building isn't available for some reason. You
Aw.
know, and
Yeah,
these
whatever.
dates apparently, I don't know how much truth there is in this, but the dates are locked in months in advance.
Oh yeah, they are. They are.
Well, but if that's the case, how could it be? Because you don't know which teams are going to be in the finals. So
No.
you're telling me that before the playoffs even start, all 16 playoff teams lock in the dates for the Stanley Cup
No,
final?
they probably have some different scenarios depending on who advances. You know, like the league probably. That's why they only announce the schedule like right when the rounds about
right.
to start.
So
you know?
it's not locked in. And then
No.
what would happen if, for example, it was a Stanley Cup final with the Bruins and the Kings, and the
Mm-hmm.
NBA final was the Celtics and the Lakers in the same year? What would happen then? That's just
don't
one
know.
example. So
Well, it's happened before, right? I mean that the
what's happened with one team being in the
not with the finals, but I know for sure there's been many playoff series where they complained that the floor in the Boston, well, not the Boston Garden, but whatever it's called,
Yeah,
the
yeah.
TD Garden
Yeah.
was moist, you
Of
know,
course.
because the ice is underneath
and
and
same
everything.
thing with Madison Square Garden for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I prefer if there was a game tonight. I mean, I have nothing
Yeah.
to do tonight.
I
It's
know,
a
Saturday
Saturday night, you know,
night.
whatever. But and there's no NBA, so I mean, but
I mean, it's amazing how Saturday night hockey is such a tradition for us here in Canada, and in the U.S. it's really like not, right?
yeah, they don't care so much.
Yeah. But you know, it's summertime now. I don't even think they should be playing hockey on June 10th.
I agree, but
But-
at least it's at night and not during the day.
Yeah. You know, the amazing thing is, I was completely wrong, because the amazing thing is that there hasn't been any day games. So I was really scared of a lot of day games when the
There
playoffs
were
started.
in the first two rounds.
Here and there, but you know,
Like Ottawa played a lot
yeah.
of day games, but the thing is, Ottawa actually plays day games during the regular season because they draw better crowds on day games on the weekends.
well, they didn't draw them.
No, they didn't this in the playoffs because the ticket prices were too high. But if you look at the regular season schedule, Ottawa
Yeah.
plays like Saturday afternoon games.
Oh no, there are certain teams that have a tradition of playing day games, you know, which is fine. But I'm just happy that there hasn't been any games in the finals here that have been day games.
No,
Thank
and
God
they
for
wouldn't
that.
do that. They don't do it in the final. They don't.
Yeah.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is back.
So I heard you wanted to talk a little baseball.
A little bit baseball, yes.
Sure.
So
go
a
ahead.
couple of things. First of all, I think everyone needs to pay attention to the Houston Astros.
Oh, I mean, they're an amazing story right now.
If you recall, I believe in our baseball preview episode, I did say they were going to make the playoffs, and
You
and
did,
we
yeah.
can go back and listen to that. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure I picked Houston as one of the playoff teams.
I think you did, yeah.
So they have the best record in the majors, and they have 19 losses. Like they're not even at 20 losses yet, which is
Right.
incredible because the next best team I think is the Nationals, who have 22 losses.
Yeah.
So the Nationals are the best team in the NL, and the Astros are the best team in the AL. Now the thing is, it's weird for me because I still think of Houston as a National League team.
Me too.
I know that they moved over to the American League, and I know that it's because they wanted to balance out the two leagues. But the weird thing is, Milwaukee always used to be an American League team,
yeah.
and Houston always used to be a National League team.
Then they just switched.
I don't know why they did this. It didn't happen in the same season.
Well, Bud Selig is the one that really wanted the Brewers to switch. I remember when they switched, and it was the ownership, which was him. They wanted the Brewers to switch leagues.
And so
But
they did, and so the National League had one extra team.
yeah, but the Houston Astros, I remember when they did switch, and I was like, why did they do that?
Very strange.
yeah,
And meanwhile, like funny enough, Milwaukee's also leading the NL Central.
yeah, right.
So it'd be interesting if Milwaukee played Houston in the World Series. But
Well, look, Houston's a great story. I mean, they've been a playoff team the last few years, right? And
they
now-
didn't make the playoffs last year.
No, but I mean, they've been in contention. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like
in
yeah.
contention.
And they have a decent team. Like I think going back to our baseball preview, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I picked Jose Altuve as the MVP.
Okay.
Even
Well, we have
So-
to go back and listen to that.
Yeah. So like I don't know if he is. I mean, he's having a good year, but not the kind of year that he's even had. You know, he's hitting 319. I just looked it up, but like I think a lot of people were expecting him to hit, you know, like 340, 50 plus. You know, like to really dominate, but. I mean, they're a good team.
Yeah, they're playing
There's no doubt about it.
694 baseball. I don't know that they can continue to play 694 baseball for the remainder of the season. It's a long season. We're not even at the All-Star break, so I'm not going to anoint the World Series champion today.
Right.
But just nice to see that the Astros are doing well. And I don't know if you would consider them a surprise. I mean, I thought they would make the playoffs, but I didn't think they would be this good.
Right.
As far as other surprises go, the Yankees are a surprise. They're still playing 600 baseball, and I think they might be for real.
They might be for real, but I mean, the gap is there's certainly a pennant race now in the NL East, which should make things pretty interesting. You know, the Jays have, like we've talked about, the Jays have kind of closed the gap, and they've gotten to like respectability, right? Even though they're still in last, but it's condensed now, right?
Yeah, well, they're still under 500.
Yeah, and the Red Sox are there. They're there. So it's a long season to go, and I think the Yankees are for real. I mean, hard to say. I mean, hopefully all we can hope for is like a good pennant race down the stretch, right?
Yes, and on the flip side, surprises like in the negative way. I'm surprised at the San Francisco Giants that are not even playing 400 baseball.
Yeah,
now I get
terrible.
it. The Madison Bumgarner's been out for a while, but that's one of your 5 starters.
Yeah. Right. And the Colorado
Colorado
Rockies,
they're
on fire.
They're similar to the Houston Astros. They're playing great baseball.
That's your boy, Nolan Arenado.
There you go. I hope he wins the MVP.
Well, now he'll be on a winning team, so he could win.
There you go. But they'll still say, oh, he plays in Colorado, so his stats are inflated.
There is a bias towards Colorado. There is like a anti-bias, towards Colorado players when it comes to offensive numbers. There's no doubt, right? People look at them with like skepticism, so.
Did Larry Walker ever win MVP when he was with Colorado?
He did.
Okay.
He did, but his season that he had was so incredible that there's no way he could not have won MVP. Right. Like, I don't remember what the numbers were, but I think he hit like 370, like it's just the numbers that he had are like Babe Ruth numbers,
Right.
Yeah.
Another surprise team that's not doing well is the St. Louis Cardinals. They're under 500.
They're like the Giants in that they seem to have like a never-ending stream of players coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe eventually that just kind of dries up,
Also, I'm just going to go list some surprising teams in the negative way. So the Cubs are only at 500, and they just got to 500 recently.
Yeah, they're kind of struggling, but I mean, I still think they could right the ship. And the division certainly, like with St. Louis not doing very well, that division is completely up for grabs. You could win that division by just playing a few games over 500.
Yeah, I mean, the Cubs are only 2 games back.
Right.
And then you look at a team like Texas that I thought would make the playoffs, and they're under 500.
Me too. Texas was a team that I really thought was going to do well, but I mean, no one's catching Houston there. I mean,
well, it doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like it.
And then I thought Cleveland would be really good, and they're over 500, and they're only a game and a half back because Minnesota isn't doing anything special, but Cleveland isn't ripping the cover off the ball.
No, that division is also like the NL Central. I think anybody could win it. Cleveland, it's like the same thing, right? Cleveland's like the Cubs. Like everyone thought they're just going to run away with the division.
Yeah.
And, Kansas City is kind of like the Cardinals in that they've been good the last so many years, right? And they're just kind of average now. And now Minnesota has stepped up, and who expected that,
Yeah, both central divisions in both leagues are, there's not much separating first and last.
What's happening in Toronto? Are they like, are people like hot on the Jays now, or?
Well, I mean, they're on the road now. They're on the West Coast, so the games only start at like 10 o'clock at night. But they were on a run in May. They had a great month of May. And now ever since June started, it seems like they're back to their April ways.
Right.
Devin Travis is back on the DL, and this guy seems to get injured every year.
Right.
It's too bad because he's got a lot of talent, and he's a great player when he plays, but he can never play 162 games. And they don't have a left fielder. I don't know why they let Michael Saunders go. I'm not really sure why. And
BJ Upton, right?
Melvin. Oh, well, yeah. Okay.
Well, same guy.
But Upton's still out of baseball, I think. So no team has signed him.
Right.
So they're using Ezekiel Carrera and Coughlin, is it? Chris Coughlin?
Yeah.
And sometimes they even use Darwin Barney, who's not an outfielder, in left field.
Right.
Now Pierce is injured, and so when he comes back, the plan is for him to play left field.
I know, but even him, how good is he?
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
So
well, look, if they think they're gonna, you were thinking that maybe they're gonna have a fire sale at the trade deadline and give up, but maybe it's gonna be the reverse and they're gonna try to go for it.
They might, and still, they still don't have their full starting rotation back yet. Joe
Right.
Biagini has filled in very nicely. So look, they're close to 500. What are they? 3 games under 500, but they're 7.5 back of the Yankees.
Yeah.
And they had a series with the Yankees that they split last weekend. I
Right.
think they won 2 and lost 2. But if you're chasing a team, you can't be splitting series with them. You have to be winning the series.
Yeah. They haven't won too many series.
No, they haven't. And
Well, Donaldson's back now at least, so like the offense looks like a little bit better.
I mean, the best case scenario for the Jays, well, not the best case scenario, but they're looking at the wild card spot, but they're not even in the wild card spot right now.
Well, they're 3 games behind the wild card, which doesn't sound like very much, but they have to pass like 6 teams.
Well,
which is difficult.
I mean, the truth is, it looks like both wild card teams are going to come from the AL East right now, because right now it would be Boston and Baltimore would be the wild card teams.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I mean, unless Minnesota hangs on and then maybe Cleveland's part of that picture, right?
Right, of course. It's all going to come down to the last weekend of the season, as it usually does.
Right.
So Toronto's not out of it, but they have a lot of work to do.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, we were talking about weak teams, and one of the weakest teams in the league is Cincinnati. I saw them play against the Jays a couple of weeks ago, but I don't know if you saw the highlights. Scooter Gennett of the
4
Reds.
home runs.
What an incredible game. 4 homers, 10 RBIs. And
I had never heard of this guy before. Is he actually like a prospect or is he just a nobody?
He's not a prospect. So not only did he hit 4 homers, but he was 5 for 5. So he didn't make it out. And the other thing I was going to mention is he did this in 9 innings.
Right.
So I mean, there are guys who have hit 4 homers before, but I think it might have been an extra inning game or
maybe not.
Or who knows?
I don't know. Yeah.
Like he did it in 5 at bats, which is pretty impressive.
It's incredible.
So he's
We'll
20,
see. We'll see if
he's 27 years old. So he's not a prospect anymore.
The Vegas. We need to look at the Vegas odds and see like will he hit 4 more home runs the rest of the season?
Oh, come on, he will.
He may not.
No, come on.
You could probably get very good value on a bet that if you bet like that he won't get 4 home runs the rest of the year.
I think he will hit more than 4 home runs the rest of the year.
We're gonna have to Scooter Gennett watch.
Yes. And this has nothing to do with anything, but I don't know, because you were out of town, and so sometimes you don't get to see highlights when you're out of town working and stuff. But there was a player on the San Francisco Giants, center fielder, Orlando Claxite, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Oh my lord, yeah.
Well, anyway, they sent him down, and I think the reason they sent him down is because there was a ball hit to him this week, and he threw home to try to get the runner at home.
I saw this.
Except the throw reminded me of a throw you made like 25 years ago, because it almost went into the stands over the backstop.
Right. Well, sometimes you don't gauge the throw properly from the center field. So did they send him down because of the throw, or just we're going to send him down anyways?
I don't know if that was the reason, but now when I look at the Giants' active roster, he's not on the active roster. He was reassigned to the minors.
Okay.
So
well,
anyway, I just thought it was funny because I saw the throw reminded me of your throw.
Yeah, my throw was from center field.
Yes.
And it went over everybody, and somehow landed on the top of the backstop.
And you're lucky because
and just nestled in there and sat there.
If it had gone over, it would have maybe hit a car.
Yeah,
in the parking lot.
It's crazy that it like I'm able to actually throw a ball that far.
Yeah, I can't anymore. I played actually for the first time in a while this past Thursday, and it's a good thing that I don't play anymore because it hurts to do everything.
Oh, you're too old now.
It's the weirdest thing. I can play ball hockey. I can run. I can shoot. I can do all kinds of stuff.
No, but baseball and softball is a different kind of sport. It's a lot of stop and start, and you're obviously using different muscles than you're used to, right?
So, I mean, I should never.
The
play.
throwing motion is a very unnatural
Oh,
thing.
it hurts
you
to
know?
throw a ball. It just hurts to throw a ball.
Well, you know what I always used to say. We used to play together. You're like, "Do you want to warm up?" I'm like, No. If I warm up, I won't be able to throw during the game.
You only have a certain number of throws in
I
your
had
arm.
like 3 good throws in me, and if I burn those in the warm up, then that was it.
I do.
There's no
remember
use
that.
no use doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check out the Skip and Josh Sports Show on Twitter. You know that little app with the little blue Tweety bird? Yeah, you can follow them there at Skip and Josh.
Do you have anything else? What bugs me? Anything else?
I do have a what bugs me.
Great, let's hear it.
You're getting me, boy. Are you bugging me, man? I'm gonna nail. Ooh, God. I'm getting bugged now. Whoa, man.
Okay, so if you watched TSN at all in the last couple of years, ever since they lost the NHL rights,
Right.
or if you see ads or hear ads for TSN, they promote themselves as the as champions live here.
Right.
Because-
there's a great commercial. I forget the name of the song, and you even asked me what it was, and I Googled it, and yeah, continue.
So the reason they do this, so they don't have the NHL, but they do have, soccer championships, UEFA. They've got the Super Bowl. They've got the World Junior Hockey Championships. They've got all the golf majors, all the tennis majors.
Curling.
Sorry?
Curling.
Curling, right. So this is why they promote themselves as champions live here. However, if you've noticed, for example, let's take the NBA Finals as an example. Let's say there's 7 games in the finals. Let's say it goes 7 games. Well, TSN only has 3 of those 7 games.
My Lord.
They only have the games that are in Cleveland. They don't have the games that are in Golden State.
So those games are only on ABC, or we have them on another?
The Golden State, the ones that are in Golden State, those games are on Sportsnet.
Oh, right, because for basketball they share. Yeah.
In the previous round, in the semifinals in the
Yeah.
NBA.
Yeah. The games were on different channels. I never knew which channel it was going to be on.
Right. So I don't know if it was the Eastern Conference were on one network and the Western Conference were on the other.
Something like that. I didn't pick up a pattern, but I know it was always on different channels.
The point is that it's quite possible that depending on when the NBA Finals end, depending if it's Game 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, TSN might not have it.
Right.
It
So
might-
they aren't the network of champions. They're the
Exactly.
network of Game 4.
Exactly. So how do
Yeah.
you promote yourself as champions live here if you don't actually have the final clinching game?
Not happy.
Anyway,
That's bothering you.
it bothers me a little bit.
Oh boy.
So
Okay, good.
that's all I got.
Well, great talking to you again.
As always.
We'll try to chat this week. Maybe we'll try to do a quick emergency podcast if the finals the final or the finals end during the week. All right. Well, thanks to everyone for listening. And again, check out our website, skipandjosh.com. If you want to email us, all the links are there. If you want to, please subscribe, give us likes. All the links are on our website.
Yes, and this would be the point in the show where we would thank our guests if we had any guests, and thank our sponsors if we had any sponsors. So hopefully that'll be coming soon.
We should get maybe Sean from Pittsburgh to come on and hype up the Penguins if they win.
He was at the last game.
I know he's at all the games.
He goes to most of them.
I'm assuming he's going to Game 7, but I don't know his arrangement with his tickets.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, great talking to you, Cub.
You too.
The Skip and Josh Sports Show is over now. Don't worry, there'll be another episode soon.